What's up, my family? Listen, first-time listener, or you've been here the whole damn time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, giddy up, let's go, no notes.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah!
What the f*** are you talking about?
What's going on, fam? Chrome here with Mitch Williams. It's Here's the Thing, Phillies talk here on a Monday afternoon. Big week this week, and we're going to jump into that in a minute, Mitch. Final week of the season. But first, showing a little love to Royal Billiards. Check out Royal Billiards and Recreation. It's the coolest place for all of your game room and man cave needs. For the last 41 years, this family-owned business has been the premier game room store of Delaware Valley. Delaware Valley. Gee, that's been a long one.
Valley. I'll help you with that.
Ooh, thank you. Stocked with the very best in pool tables and accessories, shuffleboards, card tables, dart supplies, bars, and bar stools. You can turn any ordinary room into an extraordinary gaming experience. And by the way, hot tubs. We all love them. They got them. Stop by Royal Billiards, located at 515 Bethlehem Pike in Colmer, Pennsylvania, or on the web, royalbilliard.com, for anything fun for your home or for your office. That's a mouthful. We got to shorten that down a little bit.
Valley is a hard word to pronounce, I'm telling you.
It is when you're running on 3 hours of sleep, Mitch. Listen, let me tell you.
I run on that every day, Chrome.
I know. Well, I mean, I do like four to five. But let me tell you about my night real quick last night before we get rolling on baseball here. I'm getting ready to go to sleep. I gotta work overtime today. Plus, we're doing our show, and I fall asleep for a little bit, like right at the end of the football game. I wake up. It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock to go let my dogs out. Bro, they got sprayed in the face by skunk.
Oh man!
So now I can't go to bed because I got to get up and I got to shampoo all the dogs. It was a miserable night. No, I was inside. I just let them out. I have a backyard. It's fenced in.
Oh, you know you're going to have to wash those dogs in tomato juice.
Yeah,
that's the only way to get the stink off them. Trust me.
Well, so here's the thing. Yeah. My ex had one that got sprayed real bad. So the thing is, they really don't smell that much now because luckily I think they only got a little bit of the remnants because it was on their face. It wasn't on the rest of their body. But I washed them up, and they don't really smell. Probably a couple more baths are going to have to happen. But yeah, that was my night. Hence why I'm running on 3 hours of sleep, because then I had to wake up at 7 o'clock for work, which was awesome. But anyway, listen, lots of fun to talk about this week, Mitch. And let's just dive right in here. Our opening topic, as we said here, brought to you by Royal Billiards, or what I like to call the first pitch. Let me see here. I sent you the criteria, so.
Yeah.
All right, Mitch. Our opening topic here, Orion Kerkering. He will play a major role. I was going to say,
that should be our first topic.
It is, yes. He will play a major role out of the Phillies bullpen in the playoffs. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Anybody out there, YouTube, X, whatever it's called, these, every week I feel like we're changing. YouTube, X, Facebook, wherever you're at, make sure you guys jump in, chime in. Mitch, what do you think here, buddy? Agree, disagree?
I kind of disagree. Only I think he might be able to come in a right-handed situation because that slider doesn't even look real.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching on TV and I'm going, there's no way they can take that pitch. It's an absolute, it's trackball. Remember trackball when we were kids?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you make a baseball move the way he gets it to move. It doesn't look real.
Yeah, no, I mean the movement on is really, really crazy. And for a team that's kind of looking to solidify some of these positions as far as who's going to be in the bullpen starting rotation. By the way, really good week for the most part for the starting rotation, and they needed it going into this final week. If you can find a gem out there, I'm going to agree just for the simple fact of kind of what you said. There are situations that come up, and that's fair. Tom says, first of all, he apologized for not being able to make it on today, He disagrees. There's a lot to put on the young kid. I don't know. I don't find it to be a lot if situationally he's utilized, kind of what you said, Mitch, for using against right-handers or whatnot in certain situations. I mean, the one good thing is they do have pitching depth in the bullpen, and some of these guys in the rotation are going to end up sliding into that bullpen as well when the playoffs roll over. So
I
if
don't
there's an
think he's even eligible, though, Chrome. Somebody
no,
just
well, there you
brought
go.
that up. He would have had to have been on the roster by September 1st.
September 1st, right?
In order to be playoff eligible, I believe. And that one of our listeners brought that up, and that is true.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about the date, but there you go. Dynasty 215, can he legally play?
Yeah, I don't know when did he come up?
Unless
Dynasty, do me.
well, he has to be on the roster September 1st, and that was the first time I'd seen him.
Okay, well there you go. Well, then maybe that's just a piece we get to look at.
Oversight on the Phillies' part.
Yeah.
To
Oh,
not
for sure.
to the roster when you got that kind of slider. Somebody's seeing it one time, they're not hitting it. There's no right-hander going to get up there and go, "Oh yeah, this is what I want." No,
Yeah.
first time he could have been great in the postseason, just facing guys one time because they haven't seen him.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Well, if anything, it's an audition for next year, by the way, which again, kid looks like he's going to take advantage of the opportunity he has over the next week or so.
They
And
should get
listen,
him as many innings as they can over the next week.
yeah, we talk about keeping guys fresh for the playoffs, right? If you have a young kid who you know is not going to be eligible playoff wise, why not utilize that now to give these guys some rest and get them in a lot of work over the next week? Absolutely.
I can tell you this: the Mets don't want to see him again
No,
because he made them look stupid.
no. I mean, what a week for the Phillies this week. They take 2 out of 3 against Atlanta, and they sweep all 4 games against the Mets. It's a 6-1 week, and essentially at this point, they have. I mean, their playoff spot is all but essentially locked. Just a win or a loss from the Cubs locks their position. So,
Yeah,
just to get in, but they're up 4.5 on Arizona. So they gained back some of those games they lost, Mitch, the last couple of weeks that we talked about, right? Trying not to lose
absolutely.
ground. I think this week they gained a game and a half back, which is again that's really big going into the final week. So an opportunity this week. So let's start with Atlanta, Mitch. What were your key points in with the Atlanta series that you feel like really, helped them? And again, time of year going into the playoffs, we said we would worry if this team struggled against this Atlanta team, and they looked very good in this series.
They look good. Atlanta's still playing their guys, so that's to be expected. And to take that series throws them into the postseason again, knowing they can beat Atlanta in a series. That's what they showed themselves. And it showed Atlanta the same thing. And trust me, Atlanta does not want to face the Phillies. They just don't. Not in a short series.
No, if Aaron Nola starts pitching like Aaron Nola can, and Wheeler's dealing, and the rest of this starting rotation can pitch how they've shown, particularly over the last week, if that's a sign of things to come in the positive, plus you have guys like Trey Turner who have really been hitting really well over the last month and a half. Schwarber doing what Schwarber does at this time of year now. He's starting to kind of turn it on again as well. It's scary. It's a really scary situation.
My only real worry in the lineup is still JT.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ball, he hit a home run to left center. But again, the pitcher made a mistake on the inner third of the plate. JT was open, so he got to it and hit it out of the park. He's going to be facing pitching that is not going to make that mistake in the postseason. So he still has to get back to closed. That's when he's really dangerous, is when he gets back to square and closed with his front side. Because they don't make those mistakes in the postseason. They're there because their pitching got them there for the most part.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And again, for me, the worry with him, and really, if over the last week or so, I really did start to look at some of the numbers when you talk about his batting average, runners in scoring position and stuff. And it is a lot of what I said last week, Mitch. His major issue, it's not necessarily the number. His numbers specifically aren't too. I mean, the average is down. The on base percentage is where he's really fallen off this year. Power wise, right? And there was a whole talk about his power number. He's pretty much on par with what he normally does.
Yeah.
The issue is if you look at his batting average and his production with runners and scoring position, they are awful. And I mean awful. And that's where I have concern. Now, I don't know if that, some of it I think is the case of the inconsistency with the approach. A lot of things you talk about, Mitch, as well as are we not batting him? Kind of like we moved Castellanos around and a couple of these guys around the line. Are they not batting him in the right position? Are they not moving him around to get him some protection so he can get his confidence back in those situations? I don't know what the case is there, but
late in the year like this,
yeah,
you look at the way Nick is swinging the bat right now.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way he's hitting down there for me.
Mm-mm.
He's going to be in the top 5 hitters in that lineup.
And he should be.
JT, they should start limiting his at bats. You're in September. You got 6 games left. A catcher loses his legs. There's no question about that.
Mm-hmm.
So take a couple of at bats away from JT on a game-to-game basis. Get him his rest, and I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty in the postseason for him if he doesn't fix his approach with his front side. Because if he comes up with guys in scoring position, he's going to get a steady diet of breaking balls away and fastballs off the plate away because they know he'll go after him, and he can't do any damage with them.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And again, he's kind of fallen into a lot of the same habits, and he's kind of just keeps digging a hole for himself in those situations. I think you might be right, kind of similar to when we talked about Nola, right? These last couple of weeks were really important for him to earn his spot. Not that you would take JT out of the lineup, but you're right. Maybe you start limiting and taking away at bats. And one thing and you guys, I'm a Cardinals guy. One thing Tony La Russa never had a problem with, whoever was hitting, he played. He benched Scott Rowland in the NLCS and played Scott Spezio. Because if one dude's hitting, at the end of the day, it's about winning. We're putting ourselves in the best position to win. And I do think the Phillies have to take that into consideration when you're talking about how some of these other guys are hitting right now. If he's not producing with runners in scoring position in the playoffs, that is something that cannot happen.
No. It's just a spot in the lineup where you're sitting there as a manager going, okay, three of my first 4 guys got on base, and now I got JT up. That's not a situation you want to be in as a manager. Not right now. If he starts getting back to square, absolutely. He starts driving the ball away. That's what you look for with JT. The ball that he hit out of left center was an absolute mistake by the pitcher. And those mistakes, he ain't going to get many of in the postseason. They're just going to stay away from him.
So where are you moving him in the lineup?
No higher than 7th.
Really dropping him down.
Bat him in the bottom third of the lineup. And then if he does get hot, you got someone getting hot in the bottom third of the lineup. I still can't figure out why they haven't moved Castellanos back up.
Why they did?
Why they haven't.
Oh,
or they finally moved him up a little bit. But, he was hitting 7th and 8th.
Yeah, well, it was a real rough stretch there. But he does seem to be kind of coming back around again at the right time. So I'm not sure why that's the case either, unless maybe they're just kind of looking at it as, we're starting to win games and we're just not going to mess with the chemistry of what we has been working as of late. It's the only thing I can really think of, Mitch. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what Rob Thompson's looking at. It's his team. I'm just speaking from an outsider looking in. And for me, that would be the one spot in the lineup I would be excited about. Yeah. Whoever's hitting in front of him, they're not getting anything to hit. I wouldn't give him anything to hit because I'm going to go after JT. And just pitch him away and say, okay, hurt me. You keep stepping in the bucket like that, you can't do any damage unless they make a mistake. And then when they do make that mistake, you can't foul it off. You got to do what he did with it the other night and hit it in the bleachers. That just hasn't happened a whole lot this year.
No, it's true. It's true. Let's step away for a quick second. Little love with RTC. Then we'll come back on the other side, and we'll continue to talk this past week with the Phillies, with their series against Atlanta and the New York Mets.
Williams here. If your company ships freight, join my winning team at Raymond Transportation Corporation. Let us become part of your team. RTC has been serving shippers nationwide for 26 years. With 10 terminals located throughout the U.S., volume LTL, small LTL, truckload, and rail. You can count on RTC to be the closer you need. I know firsthand that the Delaware Valley demands accountability. Call me at 800-206-3983 to schedule a meeting. Give me one shipment, and we will earn the rest.
Dang right.
All right, back here. Yeah, make sure you guys check out RTC, all your shipping, freight services, and the Delaware Valley. They're best in the Delaware Valley. I got it right that time. Wherever you need to go, these guys will make sure it gets there, and you're going to get the best service you can look around. So, back on the other side.
I'm looking forward to these last 6 games.
Yeah, so
we figured out that they are playing Pittsburgh 3 and New York 3.
I'm going to double check it now. I believe it is Pittsburgh and New York. Well, we know New York. The Phillies have, Pittsburgh at home.
Well,
the Phillies are home against Pittsburgh, and they end the season in New York.
Well, they just showed that they can beat up on New York as long as they show up. And the starting pitching, if we talk about that, what Sanchez did yesterday, Rob Thompson's got to be thrilled about that. His changeup was filthy. If you don't ask me, just ask their first baseman, Mr. Alonso. Yeah. He had zero fun. I think he punched him out 3 times, didn't he?
Yeah, they looked real good. Yeah, he did. He didn't look great at the plate. But, yeah, I feel like the Phillies pitching overall this week pitched very, very well. Situationally, obviously there was the one game they lost to Atlanta where they gave up 9 runs. But that happens in a week, right? When you still come out of a 6-1 week, and I don't think that they taxed the bullpen or anything of that nature. That was a pretty successful week. And it's something that if the overall rotation can look this good this next week, it's a pleasant problem to have where Rob Thompson does have a few decisions to make here, Mitch. And, listen, last week we got off the air and Michael Lorenzen got rocked, right? We talk about his spot. Is he a guy in the playoff rotation?
He does, honestly, Chrome, he doesn't even look like the same guy.
Yeah.
In his face, the confidence doesn't seem to be there anymore. So I've been pushing for this guy to be in the postseason rotation, but after what I've seen over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, this is a guy that's unsure of himself.
It's tough, right? And we're sitting here and we're talking about moving JT down the lineup and all these different things. It's tough. I'm like you. I believe in his stuff. But
he knows how to pitch, but he's not confident right now.
Well, I worry too, and I don't want to say worry. I wonder because, one of the things, a lot of his career, he started as a reliever and then became a spot starter, and he's kind of been moved in and out. So that the durability to last through an entire 162 game season, pitching as a rotation pitcher in the starting rotation. I don't know that he has a lot of experience in doing that, and maybe it could be partially like a fatigue factor. Again, I'm just trying to look at why, because he has stuff. I've looked at and watched some video of him previous, right? So his mechanics have always been good, and he has really good stuff when he's on.
But his command is what's hurting him.
Yeah.
He's fallen behind way too many hitters. He's walking too many guys. That's not how he has had success. He's had success by locating his fastball. His changeup has been good. As long as he locates his fastball and keeps his changeup down, then his breaking ball becomes more effective. And he hasn't been able to locate his fastball at all.
No. That game, he didn't even make it out of the first inning. It was ugly. That one got out of hand really fast. And they pulled a short leash with him on that game. But so I asked because I want to circle around. We saw this week a couple good starts out of the rotation. So as of today is what, the 25th, 24th, 25th.
25th. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, my headset died. September 25th. You have a week left. What's your starting rotation for the playoffs as of today?
Well, Nola's going to be in it. I would be Wheeler, Nola, and depending on the team and the amount of left-handers they have in their lineup, it'll either be Ranger or Walker.
Yeah,
would be my assumption.
Yeah, see, I'm with you in that. I take Walker out of the equation, though. I do think he's been good. You've got more. I think you got more than what you really expected in this signing him this year.
In the win total, you've got more.
Right, correct. I think he's done what needs to be done to win games.
Well, he's been a recipient of a lot of run support this year.
He has. But to that point, I also think even in games he's done that, there has been situations where when he needs to make a pitch to get out of an inning, even though he's had a stumble across the finish line to get there, he has made pitches and, whether it's inducing ground balls or whatever it is, or getting straight at points where he really, really needed to get those wins.
Oh, that's true. He's pitched well with guys in scoring position.
Yeah, and I do think that there's a credit to be said for that. Even if you're kind of rumbling and fumbling and stumbling to get there, if you can, at the end of the day, shut the door when it's needed, there's a value in that, particularly in the playoffs. But I wouldn't trust him enough, regardless of what the matchup is. I feel like I wouldn't trust him enough in a playoff situation when I think Ranger is easily a better option at this point. I mean,
well,
to me,
Ranger, you know what you're getting.
Yeah,
for the most part. He's not going to go out there and show any emotion.
Mm-mm.
He stays completely calm in the moment. I don't know if I agree with that statement. As far if it's a right-handed lineup, I'm going to throw Walker. The problem being Sanchez right now is probably throwing the ball as well as anybody.
Right.
But they aren't going to use him in the postseason as a starter.
No.
He's going to be a guy that if they get behind early, he's going to come in and hopefully stop the bleeding, that kind of thing. Because his changeup is legit. It is a very good changeup. So Rob Thompson, he's got an issue on who he's going to use, but it's going to be Walker or Ranger.
Yeah, no, that's true. But it's a good problem to have,
Yeah, there's a lot of teams right now that don't have a choice.
Correct. If guys are pitching well going into the playoffs, it's a great problem to have. And so I want to ask you about how you felt about the offense this week.
The offense was good. If they got behind, they kept battling. Bryce, when he got to August, he had 5 home runs. He's at 20 now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's starting to roll.
Yes. That ball he hit the other night, 459 feet, that ball was crashed.
Absolute bomb.
And people, like we go back to May and June, whenever Bryce came back, people were so worried about his power. And that's just a training thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have Tommy John surgery, you're not lifting the kind of weight you normally lift in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at Bryce's body and tell that he had lost muscle tone from last year. It was just going to take him a couple months to get back to where he needed to be. And now we're seeing it's happening at the exact right time.
Yeah, and congratulations to Bryce on that 20th home run of the year. And hey, 2 other guys this week passed the century mark in RBIs.
Yep.
Which Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos. I don't know that I've ever seen a guy like a Kyle Schwarber. It's crazy to me because I love me some Schwarber. I love me some Schwarber bombs. But man, for a guy who hits such a low, like under 200,
45 homers. What does he got?
I mean, he's like a tale of. It's like 2 tales though. It's 2 stories because as much as he He frustrates, especially when he opens the year. It seems like every year he really stumbles out of the gate. Like, even when he's struggling, when he does hit a ball, he's the opposite of JT. His
Oh, yeah.
situational hitting is incredible. And the way that he finds big moments. And then every year you look up and it's like another year of like 196, but like 52 home runs and 110 RBIs. It is one of the craziest things I've ever seen, Mitch.
You want me to tell you what I love about it, Chrome?
What's that?
What I love about his entire approach to the game of baseball. Everybody on the planet wants to talk about his batting average. I bet you Schwarber can't tell you what his average is because he don't care. It's like when the only people that it bothered me coming in a game and walking people was my teammates and the manager. It never bothered me. If I walked a guy, I walked a guy. Big deal. I never worried about my walks. I worried about getting the outs I needed to get. And Schwarber approaches it the same way. I don't care what I'm hitting for average. I get paid to hit home runs and drive runs in. Out of the leadoff spot. He is an RBI man out of the leadoff spot. How many guys can say that?
And that adds to it too, right? He is the most unconventional leadoff man.
Oh, I don't.
But
I
works.
preached against it,
It
and
works,
I can't do it anymore. I can't sit here and with a good conscience say they can't hit Schwarber first. Well, they obviously can because he has done exactly what they've needed him to do. I don't believe that he would have driven in any more runs in the fourth or fifth spot in this lineup.
Yeah. And you know what's the crazy though? So you look at some of the batting averages, right? He has one of the highest on base percentages of the entire roster.
Yep, because he's not afraid to take a walk.
And that's what's crazy is, 197, he's got a 345 on base percentage, right? Slugging percentage 472. When you look at that, again, he's one of the most perplexing, but I think what I enjoy about it, and I think that what makes him such an intriguing player on your roster is he almost goes against all of the conventional baseball thought, right?
Almost. He goes completely against convention.
I know. He's the big guy. He's the prototypical like 3-4 hitter, right? Like it's like if you ever saw the movie Rookie of the Year, right? And they had the guy who was with the Mets. He's almost built the same way where that was the traditional thought was the big bulking home run guy who hits in the middle of the lineup. But he's leading off. He's got a very high on base percentage, which when really you look at that, it makes sense then why he's in that spot in the lineup, even though he's not maybe hitting as much. Like you said, he's taking walks and his situational hitting is insane. But that's the other thing too. When you lead off, you tend to be a table setter and not the guy who's scraping those runs across the plate. But when
he ain't built like a table setter.
No,
he's built like a table clearer.
But you know what? It's almost interesting, right? Because there was the old Tony La Russa thing where remember he used to hit the pitcher, I think eighth and the catcher ninth, and the idea was trying to get. So what he would do is basically he would get more at bats out of Pujols by hitting him 3 and McGuire because it started with McGuire and he did with Pujols, and then it was basically they become a cleanup hitter the rest of the game. That was the mindset behind it. That was a little.
I look at. If Kyle Schwarber plays a home game the rest of his career that ain't in Philly, it's because we made a mistake and let him walk or we traded him. This guy was made to play in Philly.
Oh, for sure.
He is what everything in Philly stands for. Blue-collar guy, doesn't care, wants to go play hard. And that's the one thing you can look at him. Schwarber plays as hard as he can play every single day. And the thing that makes him really perplexing and a hard thing for opposing starters to deal with, they don't want to walk the leadoff hitter of a game, but they also don't want to be down 1-0 after the leadoff hitter. That's why he draws so many walks. Pitchers do not want to go down 1-0 after the first hitter. And look at how many times he's done that.
Oh, God, for sure. And I do think too, if you look at what the Phillies lineup typically tends to look like, right? they do have production and productive hitters in the back end of their lineup. So, when I brought up that whole, how La Russa used to hit to try to get McGuire and Pujols more at bats in RBI situations. I feel like it's the way of the Phillies doing it. Like, let's get this guy out there who isn't afraid to take a walk, or he might open it up with dropping a bomb. And then having those guys at the back end who are more on base type of guys, it really does kind of lend to, like Marsh. It does kind of lend to that, almost that kind of way of thinking at that too, where he becomes almost like a number 3 or a 4 hitter in a lineup the rest of the way through. Plus, you have your top bats coming behind him. It's like, the rest of the game. It's a really interesting dynamic, and he's one of the most fascinating players in baseball when you just look at everything and break it down. There's nothing conventional about it whatsoever.
You look at Schwarber, and the first thing I think of about fitting in a city, I go back to our team. Mm-hmm. Schwarber is just a 2000s version of Kruk, only he's got a lot more power.
Oh, yeah.
Krucky hit for average. He could fall out of bed on Christmas Day and get 5 hits. But Schwarber gives you that something at the top of the lineup. It's like when Ricky Henderson was in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
You could be down 1-0 before God got the news with Ricky. And if he got on base, you better stop him, because he's going to be standing on third really quick. That's the kind of guys that change a game at the top of the order. Guys that have the ability to hit the ball out of the park. And you look at what this lineup's done over the course of this season. Turner has played all year. He's got 70-something RBIs now. And this is a guy that I said last week, I would have bet everything wasn't going to sniff 25 home runs this year.
Yeah.
And then you look at Bryce. I'm different. I don't know if I'm different. I know that your best hitter hits third in your lineup.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's always been.
Yes.
Some people argue the 2-hole hitter, but that's not true. Your 2-hole hitter is a guy that can handle the bat and move the baseball around. But your 3-hole hitter, to me, is always going to be your best hitter. And you look at what Bryce has done this year. He's got 70-something RBIs. Mm-hmm. And how many months of the season? First 2 months of the season he missed?
Yeah.
And Trey's got the same amount of RBIs, basically, and he's played the entire year.
Yeah, and you have to think too, factor that in, that he has that, and he really struggled out of the gate, understandably so, coming back from that injury as well. So it just kind of tells you how good he's looked over the last 2.5 months, where Bryce has really kind of turned it on quite a bit.
He got his body back in playing shape really quick and on the job. He didn't do it down in AAA. Mm-hmm. He didn't take that assignment and do all that. He went to AAA for 2 nights, didn't he? I think he came back after his second
bombs
night.
There too. Yeah, he went there and everybody thought, oh, he's going to come right back and step right in. Obviously, it wasn't the case, which was unrealistic to expect that anyway.
Well, and and Bryce even started to question himself.
Right.
He hit balls that he thought were out of the park, and they were landing on the warning track, and he was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Well, as a player, when you know you squared a ball up and it doesn't go out, that is frustrating. But there has to be somebody else there telling him that's going to come. Yeah. That's all going to come. And after that 450-something bomb he hit the other night, oh, my gosh. So he is right where he needs to be. The only thing that worried me, he took a swing yesterday that looked like he hurt something.
Yeah.
And I was not feeling good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it showed him running the bases like an inning and a half later, and he was flying. So maybe he just pinched something on a swing or whatever happened. But this is a guy, as long as you have him, you can piece that lineup together around him.
Oh, 100%. Let's take a quick moment. Let's step away. Royal Billiards, little word from them. We'll come back on the other side. We'll continue to talk Bryce. We'll talk whatever else you guys want in the chat. If, by the way, drop some comments and questions in for Mitch or for myself. We'll talk about those, as well as we'll preview the upcoming week.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, proudly celebrating 40 years and our new, bigger showroom.
Twice the size and twice the fun.
More pool tables by Olhausen. More dartboard sets, including custom reclaimed backboards. More bar and kitchen stools that can change a room.
And more bars, including pre-built and custom.
Hot tubs, skee ball, shuffleboard, outdoor,
and fun.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, your ultimate game room store. Now located on Bethlehem Pike in Colmar.
All right, hot tubs, all the fun stuff over there at Royal Billiards. Make sure you guys check them out, royalbilliard.com, or go over there and you can visit their physical location. But back on the other side here with Mitch Williams here on Here's the Thing. Tom Arnaud not with us today. He'll be back next week, but I'm here with Mitch. And big week that we just had. We talked about Kyle Schwarber. We talked about the pitching. We're in the middle of talking about Bryce. And again, right time, man. Right time for these guys to really start be clicking. Trey is still hitting very well. I'm really encouraged by the lineup going into the playoffs. And this week, lock down that number 1 seed, Mitch. It's so important for them. Listen, you weren't going to win the division, and the Atlanta was running away with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But how you feeling? I can't hear you, Mitch. Is that me?
There we go.
There we go.
Forgot to put my mic down. Sorry, people. I'm new at this. What was it? No, Atlanta has their MVP. Their 40-40 guy, and the Phillies have a lineup that no team in baseball wants to face in the postseason.
Yeah. It's there, and that's the one thing, right? We can get frustrated with how sometimes the regular season plays out, but with the way Major League Baseball is now, particularly with these wild cards, and some teams are just built for the postseason. And by adding more teams to the mix, I don't want to say it takes the emphasis away from the regular season. There is a little bit of that.
There's a lot of bit of that.
Yeah. But what it does do is it does allow teams who, through 162 games, they may scuffle. It might not be the easiest thing. But if you got to see them in a 5-game series or a 7-game series,
that you don't want to play the Phillies.
When they can figure you out after the 2nd game or 3rd game, start running through your pitchers, it's a problem.
It's a daunting task when you look at that lineup from 1 to 9. Rob Thompson has options, which is great. The best thing that can happen for the Phillies tonight be for them to win, Arizona and the Cubs to lose. The Phillies clinch that top spot in the wild card. Now Rob Thompson can manage his starters' innings the rest of the year. You're not going to send a guy out there and let him throw 7 or 8 innings. You're going to send him out there, let him get his work in, and then get him off the mound. That's what the best thing that could happen right now is that situation.
Yeah, no, 100%. Being able to kind of lock it down, lock it up. And the one good thing that they do have, right, is there's always that internal debate as the season goes on. And we remember this in 2011. We've seen it with other teams, is in that last week, the competitive nature of things, right? Resting players when other teams are in. The benefit they have is once they lock it up, they really can sit everybody because they're playing 2 teams that aren't playoff bound.
I'm not sitting any of my hitters. They're playing. Whether it's I'm getting them 3 at-bats a night and getting them out of there, whatever it is, they are playing because this lineup right now is clicking.
Well, yeah.
You don't want to mess with that.
Right, you don't want to tamper with that.
Don't take at-bats away from a guy that's hot.
No, I agree with you. I was saying in more of what you're saying, right? Maybe you don't have to go 4 at-bats. Maybe you don't have to play 9 innings, but you get 5 or 6 innings out of these guys. Let them get their reps in and let them take a seat. And maybe you're a little more creative with the bullpen too, and keep those guys fresh over the last 3 or 4 games. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, if you got your closers, Kimbrel and Alvarado, then you got Soto. Those are 3 guys nobody wants to face.
Nope.
I mean, if a left-handed hitter tells you he wants to face Soto and Alvarado, I can tell you right now he is lying. No left-hander wants to face those 2 guys.
Right.
Not if they have any sense in their head at all. But they'd be lying. They're not going to tell you, oh, I'm scared of that guy. I don't want to face. No. If they say they're all right with it, they're lying. And that's how you have to look at it. You have guys on the back end of that bullpen that have the ability to put the fear of God in people. And that's what you want. Alvarado, I wish his last warm-up pitch every time he takes the mound would go off the backstop. You wouldn't have one left-handed hitter getting in there digging in.
That's true. That's true. And Kimbrel, what a bounce back year for him too. A guy who's had a couple of years where he's really scuffled. All-star season this year, he's looked really, really good. Solidified the back end of the bullpen through injuries, through guys who have struggled and had some inconsistencies. What a huge breath of fresh air he's been, and to go into the playoffs with that and his kind of experience, I think is something really key for this team.
Well, and the other thing people are going to have to realize about the Phillies, and I promise you other teams will realize it, they have playoff experience now. They have World Series experience now.
Whole lot of down that roster.
I'll tell you what, in 93, when we went to the World Series, none of us were prepared for the media.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was 500 media people for the World Series.
Yeah.
And everybody wants a piece of your time. And it's once you get there and you experience it, I never had the opportunity to go back, but to know that expectation of you is going to be there for the postseason and how you're going to handle it as a player, that's a big deal. I know that I wasn't expecting the kind of media coverage. I knew it would be more media, but not like that. It was unbelievable. So now they've got that. They know that now. They know what a World Series is all about. They get in the postseason, they get hot like they did last year, they can win this World Series.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's open. I honestly really do. Atlanta's really the only runaway team in terms of the National League. And honestly, Atlanta was really good last year, and the Phillies were able to take care of business, right?
Trust me, Atlanta does not want to face Philly in the postseason, but that's where it's headed.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nobody that, if I were a Phillies fan and I was to sit back and look at the teams this year, last year I would have said, oh man, I don't know. The Dodgers are tough, the Braves, but this team is resilient. It's another year of experience. Now you would, thank God, if Trey wasn't hitting, I'd worry.
Yeah.
But the fact that Trey's hitting the way he is, that Castellanos has had the year he's had, and he seems to be coming out of his struggles, I think it's so crucial. And obviously, like we said, Schwarber is doing Schwarber things at the time of year where he typically starts to turn it on, which would concern me for whoever they're going to have to face in their first matchup. Because if he gets hot, that rolls through the playoffs every time.
Oh, yeah.
I just think they can be a real nightmare matchup. And again, with the extra experience, I don't see anybody in the National League that you go, I don't know if they can beat them. We say it every year with Atlanta. But then every year, either Atlanta knocks themselves out or Philly plays them tough in these important games or these playoff games.
Beyond Strider, who have the Phillies really struggled against in that starting rotation from Atlanta? The left-hander, what's his name? Wright has been hurt all year, and they hammered him the other night.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're going to face a team that's in your own division in the postseason, and you've seen their pitchers as much as you've seen them, and it works the other way for Atlanta too. I mean, you look at Acuna. I haven't seen him taking it bat this year against the Phillies, where he didn't look absolutely comfortable.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I would do if I was Phillies and I get in a postseason matchup with the Braves, I'm taking Acuna out of the equation.
Yeah.
Meaning I'm going to make him as uncomfortable as I can possibly make him. He's going to have to move his feet. And I haven't seen that. I haven't seen anybody move his feet. And you don't have to throw at a guy to move his feet. You just got to be able to command the inside part of the plate.
Yeah.
And he goes up there. He doesn't have a concern in the world. And that can't be. You have to make a guy uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of experience with them. Charlie Morton's a guy who's won a World Series, obviously, with that team. But their starting pitching's a little bit banged up right now, too. I think he's got issues. Fried's got issues right now. So, they might be limping in. I mean, they might be healthy when playoff time starts, but they might be limping in there with some nagging injuries. The lineup's a little bit scary.
The lineup can hit. I'm not going to take that away from Atlanta. They got a lineup that can hit.
Matt Olson is a ball player, man. I mean, that dude can rake.
Matt Olson is an absolute epitome of opposite of launch angle. He does it the right way. And you watch him swing the bat, launch angle is created with a downward approach with the bat, not an up approach. You don't go here to go up. You go down to catch the bottom half of the ball.
Right.
And you watch him hit. He just doesn't. I mean, he's hit stuff off the tip of his toes out of the ballpark this year.
Yeah. It's one of those years for him. I think he's got like over 130 plus RBIs, over 50 or 52 RBIs. It's like one of those years that you have a guy like him who just seems like there's nothing he can do wrong. He is a guy that strikes a little fear into me. Austin Riley can be a guy that can get hot. So that lineup is formidable.
Oh, yes. There's no two ways about that. But
for
everyone can be pitched to. It's
Yeah.
the guys that have the ability to make the pitches when they need to make them that are going to be the teams that move on. And that's what Philly did last year. They hit enough and made the pitches when they had to make them to get to the World Series.
Right. Yeah, and that's and then that's where your starting pitching comes in. I don't worry about Zach Wheeler. I don't know why. I never really feel a big need. Now, every now and then he'll have a game.
Well, the only thing that concerned me was his velocity was down around 95 in his last start.
Right.
And you don't want it there come postseason. You got to pitch above the speed limit or below the speed limit. You can't be on the number. And right now, 94, 95, that's hitting speed.
Yeah.
So it puts a lot of pressure on you to make the pitches you need to make location-wise. I mean, you can get guys out with a 70-mile-an-hour fastball if you know how to locate it.
Right.
Zach knows how to locate it. It's just going to put more pressure on him. He can't make as many mistakes. When you're at 97, 98, you can get away with mistake pitches. You'll throw it. It'll be right down the middle, and you go, oh, he fouled it off.
Yeah.
That's what you can't do in the postseason because those mistakes become runs.
No, agreed. And for the most part, he really doesn't make a lot of mistakes anyway. Like I said, every now and then he'll have a game where you're like, ooh, all right, wasn't a great outing. But for every one of those, I feel like you get 5, 6, 7 really strong starts in a row.
He is one of the most dependable starters in the National League. You know what you're going to get when Zach Wheeler takes him out.
Yeah.
I mean, even with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, he still managed to navigate a lineup, get through it, and get out of it. That's the kind of guy you want in the postseason.
Agreed. Dynasty, are you saying you're worried about Wheeler on playoff rest, or is there somebody else we missed? Let us know. Drop that Ben there. Nola's the key. Let's be honest. Nola is the key. At this time of year, we need him. The Philadelphia Phillies need for him to be the Aaron Nola. He doesn't have to be the ace rotation guy, but he needs to be like the SP2. He needs to be the guy behind Wheeler that you're going to get 2, and I'm not saying by Major League Baseball's quality starts, because I hate that.
Well, number one, 6 innings and 3 runs being called a quality start.
I agree.
That's a 4.5 ERA, and that got us sent down.
I have always said that. I never understood how that like if it's 2, I can see 2 runs in 6 innings.
Yeah.
How that constitutes as a quality start, that's beside the point. That's a whole conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But if you can come in and Wheeler can get you 7 innings, man, and your team is in the ball game and he's controlling some of the hitters and minimizing I'm maybe it's not the greatest choice of words, but minimizing damage. He's not making any stupid mistakes. He's not giving up long balls. Oh my goodness, Madone, this team.
Nola can win if he keeps the ball in the ballpark. The way he keeps the ball in the ballpark, you use this next start. He's going to get one more start before the postseason.
Right.
This next start has to be all about what do I need to do to throw the ball downhill.
Mm-hmm.
If he does that going into the postseason, he'll be fine. It's getting under the baseball. And you can go back and look at every one of his starts.
Uh-huh.
The home runs he gives up, he's under the baseball. Whether it's his breaking ball that's just hanging there, or it's his fastball that flattens out. When he's on top of the ball, he becomes a very formidable pitcher.
Right. So yeah, it's almost like spring going into it with the spring training kind of a mindset of, this is an opportunity for you to work on things, work on certain pitches leading into the playoffs.
It's free work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's an opportunity to go out there. Okay, this start doesn't really mean that much as from a results-based type deal. The only result I want to see is him throwing the ball downhill.
Right.
The result I want to see with Wheeler, he's able to locate.
Yeah.
And he stays closed with his front shoulder. You can watch Wheeler when he steps back, he'll over accentuate that close of the front shoulder. When he doesn't do that, the hitter sees the ball a whole lot longer throughout his delivery and he becomes hittable. So that's the one key I look at from him. Nola, it's going to be all about throwing the ball downhill.
Yeah, and then so Nola's on the tab for tomorrow. I mean, technically he would be pitching the last game of the year, but I think we all know that that's not going to happen.
That won't happen because he's going to have to pitch game 2 of the playoff series.
Right. So you're looking at tomorrow as kind of his swan song for the 2023 regular season.
Yep.
And again, especially it would be so key if they could really lock up that number 1 seed tonight. And again, even if not, I'm not incredibly worried at this point.
You know what a great situation would be? I said earlier, I didn't know Nola was pitching tomorrow. If Nola gets the opportunity to go out there and pitch, and he does what he's supposed to do, then you got him going into the postseason on a high note. You want everybody to be confident.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, right? So the Cubs, let me see who plays today. So I'm looking at the schedule for today because there's not many games today. That's the thing. So there's really no Arizona's playing, but Arizona's beating the Yankees right now 2-0. So if Arizona lost, a win tomorrow would lock them up over Arizona. It would basically be done.
Yep. That would be the best situation. Phillies win tonight.
Right.
If Arizona wins tonight, it doesn't matter. Going tomorrow, they can clinch.
The Phillies are off today. Arizona's the only team in their realm right now. The Cubs
They've only played 155 games, right?
Yeah. The Phillies
we played
off.
156.
Cubbies are off. Tomorrow, everybody's on the tab. So Atlanta takes on the Cubs tomorrow in Atlanta. So big opportunity to basically solidify just your playoff appearance, regardless of a win tomorrow. And then again, you have the Yankees and you have Arizona. So, actually they have the White Sox. So that game today is a makeup game against the Yankees.
Right. They had one game to make up.
Yeah. So they're in Chicago tomorrow against the White Sox, Arizona. So you'd like to get a little help either today or tomorrow.
Honestly, it's not going to matter. I'm just looking at what would be best for guys like Aaron Nola.
Well, I agree with you.
If he goes out there tomorrow, and they only need a win to clinch, for Aaron Nola to be standing on that mound or get to win in a game that clinches, now his confidence goes up and up and up. And that's what you want heading into the postseason.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. If he's the guy who's on the mound when they actually legitimately clinch their playoff spot, it's huge. It's a confidence boost.
A huge confidence boost to a guy that has done nothing but struggle throughout his career in September.
Yeah.
If he can be on the mound when they clinch, that is going to be a shot in the arm to him to go into that postseason and keep it rolling.
And particularly if he pitches well in the game too, right?
Yes.
That's the confidence. And that's the two things you want to see, right? You want to see them be in the position to clinch, and you want to see Nola come out and pitch really well. That's going to go for a long way with the confidence of this team. And I think it's very much needed. So, I mean, I think it's an interesting week. They definitely have to keep the foot on the gas this week. He's saying him in a clinching game could give him the confidence he needs like last year. I think he's talking about Aaron Nola.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dynasty. Appreciate your comments every week, as always. And anybody else out there, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you guys check us out, make sure you drop in your comments, your questions for Mitch, and anything Phillies related, or maybe something else related. Why not?
Yeah, whatever you need.
Yeah,
I can give relationship advice. I've been married 30 years.
There you go. See, he's a multifaceted man over here with a whole lot to offer the people. So here we got a couple extra minutes, Mitch. So let's see. Let's talk about something fun here. Let's say, well, we kind of did the playoff lineup. We did the rotation.
The bullpen we've done.
Yeah.
How about our possible opponents?
Yeah, sure.
Who would we be facing in the first round?
So let me look at the playoff bracket as it sits today. So the Phillies in the wild card.
First wild card, we'd take the third, or the division winner with the third best record. Am I not right on that? So it wouldn't be the Braves the first round. It wouldn't be the Dodgers the first round.
So you would be looking at Milwaukee, which I think Phillies could handle Milwaukee. I mean, honestly, Milwaukee's better than the Phillies in the actual lineup or the actual record.
Yeah, they're one game over the Phillies record-wise, right?
They are, but they're in a terrible division. Let's be
terrible
honest.
division, and that's the situation they're looking at. If they can clinch this, they're going to be facing a division winner with a record that is almost identical to their own.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, the Phillies might have a better record by the end of that.
Right, and the Phillies also have done fairly well against Milwaukee this year, have they not?
Yes. Yep, they played well against Milwaukee. So yeah, I mean that you're looking at a first round matchup in Milwaukee. There's really not anybody. Maybe Burns in that rotation, but there's really nobody else that really strikes
now,
fear.
Somebody just came on and said that we would face the second seed.
Okay, so then
second seed would be the Dodgers, wouldn't it?
So no, the Phillies wouldn't play the second seed because they have the best wild card record. So the team who wins out of the other two
teams,
teams,
second wild card should have to face the second seed.
Whoever wins between Arizona and Chicago would then play the Dodgers, correct?
And then the Braves would face the final wild card team.
Right.
The third wild card.
Yeah, this wild card shit is so confusing. They feel like they changed.
I miss the days when I played. When you won your damn division, you got in the postseason. If you didn't, you went home.
Yeah, it was much easier to keep track of.
It was harder to do, but it was easier to keep track of.
Correct. But yeah, I'm fairly certain. I am looking it up to double check it that they would be playing Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to punish them for winning the number one seed in the wild card.
No.
No. They're not going to give them the tougher matchup.
And if they finish with a better record than Milwaukee, no, we wouldn't get it. It'll still be a home series for Milwaukee.
Right. So the two division winners in each league receive a bye to the division. Oh, so no, we would. Okay, here we go. I hate that they change this every year. So, wild card teams. There's 3 teams in each of the 2 leagues. They've qualified. Those teams in each league possess the 3 best winning percentages. Yada yada yada. In the new wildcard series, the top 2 division winners in each league receive a bye to the division series, while the lowest seeded division winner and 3 wildcard teams will play in this round. A best of 3 series will take place. So the Phillies would get
Milwaukee, it should be.
Arizona.
Oh, really?
So they would get a 3-game series against Arizona.
And it'd be at home.
It would be at home. They would get the home field advantage in that. And Milwaukee would get the Cubs.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. So
anytime you can play a home series in Philly, you get a little rectal clinching going on in the other bullpen or dugout.
Oh, absolutely. So we're looking at the way it looks right now. If things were to end today, Phillies get a wild card series, home series against
The third wild card team.
No, they would get Arizona. So the top 2 division winners, would be jumping.
They get a bye into the divisional round. I get that.
Atlanta and Dodgers get a bye.
Right.
So for Milwaukee winning the division, they get the lowest seeded wild card.
Okay, so the top seed plays the second seed.
Correct.
Okay.
So that makes sense. Okay.
All right, I got that now.
There we
can go off now.
Another great week, Mitch. We'll see what happens this week. By the time we roll around next week, we'll be getting ready to talk playoff baseball.
Dang right. We'll know who we're playing, everything.
That's right. So we're real excited about that. I want to thank Ralph Delavecchio on the back end here for helping us to produce this show. Obviously, our sponsors as well, Royal Billiard Recreation, as well as RTC. Make sure you guys check them out, royalbilliard.com. RTC, make sure you guys check them out for all your shipping, freight services. 800-206-3983. And Big Dad should be back next week. But for myself, for Mitch, I'm going to make sure my dogs don't get sprayed by any skunks this week.
That's a good idea, buddy. Or go buy a case of tomato juice.
or I've heard oatmeal too. But we'll see how it goes. Enjoy the Phillies. And hey, by the way, fly Eagles fly. We got the Birds tonight on Monday Night Football.
Dang right.
Cowboys lost.
That's a shame.
Lots to talk about that over the next week. For myself, for Mitch, for Ralph, and everybody here at A2D Radio, have a great week. Go Phillies. Take care of yourself and tell someone.